Hey guys, welcome back to our walkthrough of classic poetry. Today I want to go over what's probably going to be our last and final poem from Edna St. Vincent Millay. It's called Song of a Second April. I really hope you've been enjoying Edna St. Vincent Millay so far. She's such a fantastic poet. She wrote my favorite poem of all time, the poem Recuerdo. If you haven't gone through that walkthrough yet, I highly encourage it because that poem is just fantastic. There's not going to be a whole lot to say about Song of the Second April. It's just a pretty self-explanatory, beautiful poem. As always, it's written down below so you can follow along as I read aloud. Here's Song of the Second April. April this year, not otherwise than April a year ago, is full of whispers, full of sighs, of dazzling mud and dingy snow. Hepaticas that pleased you so are here again, and butterflies. There rings a hammering all day, and shingles lie about the doors. In orchards near and far away, the gray woodpecker taps and bores. The men are merry at their chores, and children earnest at their play. The larger streams run still and deep, noisy and swift the small brooks run. Among the mullein stalks the sheep go up the hillside in the sun. Pensively, only you are gone, you that alone I cared to keep. It's a tragic poem. She's watching the world wake up with the new life of spring, and she's just thinking about the one thing that's not coming back, the love that she had that ended, somehow the year before. And if you've noticed, if you've gone through our other walkthroughs, you probably have noticed that this poem is very similar to Edna St. Vincent Millay's sonnet that we did called Time Does Not Bring Relief. And in fact, the setup of the poem, the situation is almost identical. In that poem, she says, the old snows melt from every mountainside, and last year's leaves are smoke in every lane, but last year's bitter loving must remain, heaped on my heart, and my old thoughts abide. So she's talking about the same scenario, of the world reviving with the new life of spring and coming back, but she's still trapped in the past. She's still thinking about and wishing that her old love were back again. And so it's quite presumable that this poem, Song of the Second April, and Time Does Not Bring Relief, her other sonnet, were written during the same time, the same springtime, and presumably about the same person, because they're so similar to one another. And I really like to read them together because of that. It really gives you a more enhanced view of what exactly was going on, and they complement each other really well. So I encourage you to watch that other walkthrough if you haven't gone through it yet. And this poem just does such a good job of describing how the world is in spring. I'm from the city, and I think a lot of us in the modern age, we're kind of detached from nature because nature often gets in the way of, work and hobbies and the things that we love. So we've largely come up with ways of circumventing it, and it doesn't really affect us like it did people 100 years ago. So to them, the new life of spring was just such a joyous time. People could go back to doing different work that they had to stop in the winter, and the children came out of doors to play, and all those things that she notes, that is the world reviving in spring. And it's just fun to read, from someone's perspective 100 years ago that was just probably a lot closer to nature and the seasons than we are in our modern life. So I encourage you to read it another time or two. It's just a beautiful poem. And I look forward to seeing you on the next walkthrough.